serious situation shaping up this week. Things could get rather interesting. These rain events coming.
There are a lot of complications and things that could happen, might happen, will happen.
So there's a lot of stuff on the table.
What could go wrong?
The fact that we have two big weather events.
If you start throwing tropical moisture and a storm into the fray,
both of which will produce very heavy rain in a relatively short amount of time,
then you've got real big problems.
And flooding certainly is going to be one of the bigger issues here.
We've got a new tropical storm in the Atlantic, and the East Coast is actually in the cone.
Boy, look at this. The banding is getting more and more impressive. This is going to be a hurricane. It's not going to be too much longer, within 24 hours.
This is Tropical Storm Joaquin.
East Coast is in the cone here.
All right, there's no question that Joaquin is strengthened.
The thing to keep in mind here is that
it's just going to stay wet here, and then it's going to be cold and wet here.
You've got to stay on your toes with this storm.
In a world exactly like ours, Hurricane Joaquin Phoenix was approaching the east coast of the United States. Was this Frankenstein freak storm, hurricane, and convergence of solar and weather events? Man versus man versus nature, or other? Stay tuned.
We have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos.
You obey. You have until the sands run out.
I don't know if you know this. THORnews is for winners, and that's why you're here. So stick around. Hit the button, baby.
Party dance time.
Stay cool. This is a THORnews presentation. THORnews presents September 2015. It almost feels like an evil sci-fi villain has his hand on the dial, controlling the wacky weather and disasters that are happening across Earth.
A storm that's well out in the Atlantic could actually back up and come inland, changes completely. And then a couple of days later, it turns all the way around. Now, if that's the case, a storm that's well out in the Atlantic could actually back up and come inland. Very complicated.
The track of this system could go out like this, or it could actually come into the mid-Atlantic or even up into New England. So this is kind of your track of possibilities. And if it does so, it's only going to aggravate the heavy rain situation that's going to go on across the northeastern part of the country. We've already got one batch of heavy rain coming through, and then we're going to have another one could come up with Joaquin. So there's a lot of stuff on the table, and flooding certainly is going to be one of the bigger issues here.
But this rain may lead to some flooding in a lot of places.
Perhaps some beach erosion, coastal flooding, and yeah, we're looking at this taking aim at the middle Atlantic states heading toward the upcoming weekend.
Now let's look at the upper air pattern, how it changes. Here's the situation today, basically a westerly flow, and then it turns to a little bit southwesterly here in the east, no big deal. 2 days from now, changes completely. The flow becomes southerly along the eastern seaboard, and that's why the moisture from Florida can come up. And then a couple of days later, it turns all the way around, so the flow is southeasterly. Now, if that's the case, a storm that's well out in the Atlantic could actually back up and come inland like a tropical storm. We'll have to see if this turns out to be right. All the different computer models are showing different things with each run, but that's the basic idea.
It is going to rain like crazy in the Northeast over the next couple of days. I mean, take a look at this. This is the amount of moisture that we've got out there right now. And of course, we've got a lot of moisture with the tropical storm down in the Atlantic. We've also got a lot of moisture down in the eastern Gulf, and there's also a front coming in from the west.
We get some rain middle and western part of Pennsylvania and Ohio, and then it gets heavier. Tonight it gets very heavy. Tomorrow morning, the rain spreads into New York and New England. Some rain then develops along the eastern seaboard. And then late tomorrow and tomorrow night, the heaviest rain is actually at the mid-Atlantic coast and the North Atlantic coast. This will be tomorrow night into Thursday. It dries out, but then watch the way this backs up again. Here we have later Thursday. Friday, the moisture starts to back westward a little bit. Friday night stays there. A lot of rain on the eastern seaboard. Could be some flooding. Then Saturday, it starts to back up even more. It comes back toward the mountains. Sunday, it comes all the way through and looks like a storm, actually. Makes the rain even heavier. So here we are Sunday, Monday, dealing with the same basic system we are now, except this time the flow is from the east, giving heavy rain over a large area. First, the rain spreads east, stops, dries out a little bit, then rain spreads westward. Very complicated. Stay with us here at AccuWeather.com.
All right, I'm going to cover this storm pretty extensively to the best of my ability. I got a feeling this thing could be pretty serious. If we look at all the factors, we got a lot of crazy crap going on. And as I noted just a few days ago, the climate change chaos blackmail deadline has ended. So the blackmailing would begin right about now. And we have multiple giant storm systems converging together at once in the same area. And one of them is an ocean event. Shall I say it for you again? One of them is an ocean event. Now, it's one thing to false fearmonger people about asteroids, and I don't do that. But it's another thing to warn, prepare, and alert people as to the best case and worst case scenarios in national, state, local weather forecasting, knowledge, and whatever. Man, I literally feel with these videos, I have the opportunity to save lives. And we all have to start learning how to work together. I don't know why the weather's going to get weird. I just know it's going to get weirder. Although if I had to guess, I would say because the sun has been freaking out. That's probably a good reason the weather is freaking out. And that is another reason that we will be watching the sun and these storms through the weekend very closely here at THORnews. And if you like the fact that I'm the best YouTube weatherman on the planet, feel free to donate to my Indiegogo fundraiser. I'll put a link in the video description box below. I appreciate it. Everybody, God bless. Thanks. Let's have a good week. And if you're anywhere near the East Coast, let's keep our eye on this. It's a pretty weird storm, man. And it's got a lot of steering wheels in it. You know what I'm saying? We don't know if Hurricane Joaquin Phoenix is an evil emperor, Johnny Cash, or an alien beater from that one M. Night Shyamalan movie. But we do know we have inherited this storm, and our lack of preparation for such events is one of America's vices. So spread the word. We might have a giant storm coming. And feel free to crunch all this data and find your own data and tell me if you come to a different conclusion. Best case scenario, just rains a lot. Worst case scenario, major beach erosion, and the ocean takes a step forward. A large amount of America's population lives right on the coasts. For 2 years and 10 months, I have been saying, it's not a good time to live on the coast, man. And if you are going to live on the coast, I would definitely pay attention to the weather. All right, peace out. God bless. Always be prepared. Peace out.
Now, regardless.
Stay cool. Yeah, that's right. Welcome to Asteroid Challenge Fight Club. This is a THORnews presentation. Doesn't matter what I believe. Hit the button, baby.